What is osteitis pubis? Osteitis pubis is inflammation of the pubic symphysis joint, which is right here. This is your pelvis, so kind of this area on your body, and the pubic symphysis joint is a small, very stable joint that brings the two sides of the pelvis together in the pelvic ring, and it has a little disc in between it, just like the disc that you see in your spine. Now, this joint actually it is a weight-bearing joint because it is involved in some force transfer and movement of the pelvis, but it also is a little bit more indirect in that it doesn't do a whole lot of movement, and it's not as directly involved in locomotion, say, as like the hip. It's just kind of there to act as a buttress to kind of help stabilize the pelvis and transfer forces, and it does a little bit of moving back and forth and small amounts of up and down and side to side. But it is not made for a lot of movement, and if you do have osteitis pubis, you will have pain at the pubic symphysis joint. So if you touch this joint, it should hurt you, and it should kind of reproduce the pain that you've been feeling. So if it's tender, it's more likely that you do have osteitis pubis. If it's not tender, you definitely don't have it, because the joint itself needs to be tender. And if not, it could be something else. I have a video on that actually, so you can go ahead and check that out. But the osteitis pubis can be, and it can be caused by sports-related things or life-related things. And one of the biggest, most common life-related things is pregnancy. So if you've recently been pregnant, or if you are pregnant, then that can put a lot of stress on the pubic symphysis joint just because it's taking on loads that it hasn't had to deal with before and could just be a little overloaded and inflamed for that reason. The other, and also when you give birth too, so if you have recently given birth, this joint does go under a lot of stress as the baby's trying to move out. So it's very possible that the joint itself could be pretty irritated from giving birth. So if you are pregnant or if you've given birth recently, that's a really common cause of osteitis pubis. Osteitis pubis itself is actually pretty rare. There's a lot of things that cause pubic pain that seem like osteitis pubis but aren't. Like I said, there's a video on that one too. And in terms of knowing if it is osteitis pubis, here's a couple more keys to focus on. Certain movements will hurt it. Osteitis pubis is more common in hockey players because the adductors, or your inner thigh muscles here, they attach to the bottom of your pubic symphysis joint, and if you're using them a lot and you're having a little bit of an overuse situation there, you can actually kind of like pull, the muscles can actually kind of pull on the bone and inflame the osteitis pubis joint. And your abs, so your like abdominal wall muscles, will actually come and insert onto the top of the pubic symphysis joint. So same thing. If you're doing an activity where you're taking a lot of high loads or high impact through those muscles, or you're using them a lot, that can also kind of start to pull on that area too and create some inflammation and irritation just to those joint surfaces. And then, sports like hockey or skating or running and jumping can also cause irritation to that area too. So those are some things that can kind of all cause those things. When you're moving and doing those things is when it should hurt. Though I wouldn't actually suggest rest as the only form of therapy for this. If you want to get a diagnosis of osteitis pubis, you want to get imaging. You want to rule out all of the other causes that are more likely to be causing pain in this area. Imaging could take the form of x-ray first, usually, to see if there's any damage to this joint. X-ray can also kind of show some joint inflammation, as MRI can too. And then also you'd want to have somebody actually have you stress test the joint. So go into a PT or a chiropractor or somebody who's going to be able to actually get in there and stress test that joint and make sure that the joint itself is actually the cause. If stress testing the joint reproduces the pain, then it's way more likely to be osteitis pubis. But you have to rule out a host of other things too to make sure that that's actually what the diagnosis is. and it will be pretty consistent. It will hurt whenever you do that movement that bothers it. Whenever you load the joint, it will hurt because the joint itself is inflamed. So it will hurt with weight bearing, it'll hurt with moving around. All of those things should cause pain there. And if you have any more questions about what else it could be, like I said, go ahead and check out that video. It should be up above in this little bar here. If you have any more questions, this is kind of a rare one, so shoot them directly to me in the comments below, or shoot me an email. My email should be in the description for the video, or subscribe to the channel to get some more videos on this. Thank you and have a good one.